Hello, I'm Jelelle Awen, and this is day 25 of 33 in this ongoing series called Deepen. So we are deepening as we go along, and we've been deepening into the waters of the self. We could feel it as our 3D self and the parts that make up that 3D self. But also, I wanted to offer in this series some bridges or pathways to the soul as well, which is usually fourth dimensional consciousness and higher. And I really feel that the two go together, that both are needed. So in some therapeutic practices especially, there can be a real emphasis on this life and 3D reality processing and analyzing and therapizing and that kind of thing. And I feel like there is a usefulness in that. For a lot of people, it's very helpful. Yet I also feel for those of you who are more awakening souls, who are moving into and beyond the 4D frequencies, then you're really needing some way to be with the karmic trauma from your soul and from all these other lifetimes. So in day 10 video, I introduced you to the Metasoul and this sense of an individuated soul source for which we are a fractal of, or a fragment of that. And we each have our own Metasoul. This is the picture that's been offered to me, I think, just to make it really clear. And each of those fragments, I think, are what people call past lives, although I don't use those words because they're much more powerful than that, and they are also in the now. So their energies are resonating, vibrating in the now. When you think of the fragmentation, there is no linear association with that, even as our 3D minds make it the ancient past or 20,000 years ago or that kind of thing. We think of it as the past. But in terms of how our soul operates on a quantum level, it doesn't operate in linear time. What I found is actually the experience of time is directly related to the experience of trauma. So when there's trauma, it actually suspends time, so to speak, and it keeps it stuck, our experience of it stuck in a certain suffering loop. So even if our bodies age, in the physical, there are parts of us that remain in these trauma, in these traumatic frequencies, and to them, no time has passed. And I believe that's why when we access something like an inner child or an inner teenager, it can be so alive and real and like it happened yesterday. This is what people say to me. And also, as you access this energy directly, you really are teleporting to that part, to that time period. And you're going back in again and feeling it with your new consciousness. And as you're doing that, it's actually that action, that intention that allows it to finally heal. And as the trauma is healed, as it's digested and felt, which is the way things heal, being digested and felt with lots of love from you and with the divine, then it's no longer anchored in that time period. It can lighten up and it can release. So eventually you can tell the story of what happened, but there isn't any emotional charge there anymore, and there isn't a part that's stuck there anymore. And actually, you find that you're not all that interested in telling the story anymore. What I find with people is if they're telling me stories during sessions, it's not just a story, it's a portal. So it's actually that part saying, I'm telling you about what happened to me when I was 12 and I was bullied because I'm still there. And I need you to come and get me out of the schoolyard. I need you to come and get me out of my parents' living room while they're fighting at each other. I need you to come and get me while my siblings are making fun of me. That kind of thing. So the parts, as they're accessed, very clearly tell you where they are and when they are. So again, linear time, if we associate it with it that way, then we dismiss these parts of ourselves. Oh, that happened years ago. I'm over it. I've healed it. I hear that quite often, but then these are the stories that come forward. This is the pain that comes forward. This is the undigested grief that comes forward and needs to be felt. So that's on the this life emotional body level with these parts. What I want to talk about today and expand out is how this seems to play out in other timelines or lifetimes. So I'm going to use Metasoul from here on out because it's just easier to feel it that way. That it's not past life aspect of you. It's a Metasoul brother or sister. So they are from the same individuated soul source, but it's not you. You have your unique expression and imprint that you're living out right now in the year 2019 on Gaia. You have a specific piece. You're a specific fragment. So when you're feeling into another timeline or lifetime, you are feeling another personality that is separate from you, that has its own reality and consciousness and culture and experience. And I've actually found that this is really helpful way to feel it because it allows more separation. So when you're moving into a timeline, like we will start to do today in the meditation, you have objectivity from it, just like with the parts. So rather than a teenage memory being something you went through, you connect with it as your inner teenager went through it. And then you can provide a whole much more level of compassion and understanding. So what I think happens when I work with people in sessions that have done past life regressions or soul retrievals, for example, is that they get dropped into the timeline. And often they get dropped into the deepest moments of trauma. So right when that Metasoul brother or sister was being hanged or burned or betrayed, or suffering an illness or dying or killing somebody. So like right in the middle of the most intense trauma. And of course, I think the higher self or whoever's in charge there drops them in because they just want some relief. Maybe it's the gatekeeper, actually, that part of the Metasoul that opens up these timelines is like, okay, you want to go into the timeline? Here you go. And it drops you right into the most intense experience. And what I've noticed is that actually that dropping in seems to cause trauma to the person, to you who's experiencing it, and to the Metasoul aspect. You're kind of like, you could imagine someone's most traumatic event in their life and you're running in the middle of it, dropped in the middle of it, and you don't feel that Metasoul aspect or get to know them whatsoever. Usually there's no follow-up relationship. You're just dropped into their trauma and then you run out again. So when people share with me past lives that they've recalled, and especially ones that have been told to them, there is often quite a disconnect there. And there's also an indigestion. It's like, so I was burned in another lifetime. I don't know what to do with that. What do I do with that? You know, and so what I feel that this Metasoul process offers is the ability to actually digest these traumas with the Metasoul aspects that are experiencing them, establishing a relationship with them before the trauma happens. So I like to think of it almost like a scrub bar, you know, on a video where you're not going to go right into the trauma. you're going to go before the trauma, when that metasoul aspect is more open and receiving and can hear you and can feel you. Because this isn't just a past life of yours. This is an entity, a being that has its own personality. So there's a whole relationship to be established there, right? So that's what we do in our process, is we establish a relationship with these metasoul aspects. This is what I was guided to do with mine. I could never feel it as past lives. They felt like parts to me, just like I had been working with my parts for so many years. When a past life would come through, it would feel like a part of me. And then I would feel that was really overwhelming to see it as a part of me. And I was offered by my metasoul aspects and my guides that in my star family, try it this way. Really see this as a separate personality that you're getting to know, as a person that you are getting to know. And naturally, I was inclined to meet them before the trauma. So, for example, let's say you're having a pretty good intuition that you have Atlantis falling trauma. Maybe you've even had a past life regression where you dipped in during the fall and you felt that trauma and you felt what that was like, and it was super intense. What I want to have you do as a reframe is to see that that was a metasoul sister or brother of yours that went through that, not you. So this is an energy, a being that has a name, that has a life, that has all kinds of things that have happened to them before the fall of Atlantis, and to be interested in that before time. What I have found is that if you really are interested in that before the trauma time, and you connect with them and you have a relationship with them, they can actually choose something different as well. So they can actually, that metasoul aspect of yours can change their own timeline. I worked with one who had gone through the Atlantis falling. It was actually working with her. Her name is Marika. It was working with Marika that taught me a lot of this. As I was connecting with her, I didn't want to meet her at the fall of Atlantis. That was so traumatic for her. So I met her in a courtyard that she liked to go to. This was a couple years before the fall of Atlantis. And we would just connect. I would ask her about her life and her life as an Atlantean priestess and her relationship with a metasoul aspect of Raphael's and what their relationship was like with each other. And as I did that, as my intentions to do that were clear, she started trusting me more and more. And I introduced her to all my other metasoul aspects that I had met. So she was starting to teleport out of Atlantis and meeting my metasoul in a metasoul gathering place, I call it, a place where your metasoul feels safe. And as you open out each of these metasoul aspects, it's a place they can come and gather and be together. That is unification of the soul again. And eventually with Marika, she chose to leave Atlantis before it fell. She chose to go off in the ships and leave her beloved, who was being influenced by some dark energies. And she chose to start over again. And as soon as she made that choice to not fall with Atlantis, I felt something significant shift in my being. I felt something lighten. So that whole karmic density and heaviness of Atlantis falling, my soul chose differently. And I felt also that that had an impact on the collective, on a quantum level. So there's a lot of power to this. This is not just about dropping in one time. And this really also is something that I feel needs to be led by your soul. So rather than getting past lives read out to you by somebody, for you to discover this on your own, maybe in our sessions we offer a bridge and support, but it's really your soul that is making these connections to these aspects, knowing really which ones most need you and which ones you will most benefit from. Because there's this wonderful gift exchange that happens between you and these aspects. Marika and I, for example, I got access to her Atlantean gifts and her reality, and that was very uplifting for me. And she got to feel my heart and my heart priestess energy, as she called it. And there was a gift exchange there. I got soul gifts that came out of my willingness to just have a relationship with her. I think sometimes parts of us want to, maybe it's the protector, wants to rush through this stuff, drop in, find out, clear it, like retrieve it, get it, rather than seeing that these traumas happened in relationship. These traumas happened over time. These traumas happened for reasons. And to just drop in and expect that to heal it, I think is missing the roots and the source of it, which always, I have found, offers very interesting connections to this life. So we're not just doing this work as a kind of bypassing of this life, because all of it intimately connects. The soul is so brilliant this way. The way that it sets it all up and it all connects. And I have made some amazing connections with Metasoul sisters of mine that I have met and understood a whole lot more about the choices I've made this life. So all of that is very empowering. It's very empowering. So this meditation I want to do with you is a setup for the exploration into timelines. And the reason I wanted to go into this is because many people are experiencing what I call bleed-throughs of other timelines and these metasoul aspects of theirs. So the bleed-throughs usually present themselves as nightmares or intense dreams, flashes of memories that can't be from this life or this timeline. A bleed-through can even be when you're intensely drawn to a time period or era. You're watching a lot of movies, you're taking in a lot of art, you're reading a lot of books about it. If you're really drawn to a particular era, like Egyptian, ancient Greece, there's no ancient, but that time period, it's probably a metasoul aspect that is in trauma and needs this kind of connection that I'm talking about. So there's always little clues as to which timeline most needs you, but there's also your gatekeeper, who I did a video for you to get to know your gatekeeper in day 12. The gatekeeper is kind of also another ongoing process that takes time and may not happen right away. But the gatekeeper really is the energy in your metasoul that allows the opening of these timelines and the closing of them as well, so that the bleed-throughs aren't happening without your conscious consent for them. As you work with the gatekeeper, then you can say, okay, I'm going to open this timeline now and I'm going to meet this metasoul, which is very different than being flooded with a timeline, which can be very intense and traumatic for people and cause a lot of intense symptoms on the body level and the emotional body level. So we're going to go in today and I'm just going to start getting you familiar with your timelines and the portals to them and your gatekeeper again. So go ahead and close your eyes. Start to bring your focus inward. You may already feel some rumblings here as I was sharing some timelines that you feel are bleeding through and wanting your attention. Maybe even through previous work you've done, you've dipped into or dropped into different timelines. Really want to support you now to feel yourself in this timeline as you are, expanding into 4D and 5D consciousness states, feeling the bigness of your heart. And feeling the now. Honoring your now. And today we're going to go back to the Gatekeeper realm that I introduced you to in day 12, which is usually sort of below or adjacent to your castle. So we'll follow a path to the cavern. It's a cavern near your castle. It may be quite a big cavern, so it's not a tiny little cave, but quite big and even well lit, perhaps, inside. That is, as you enter, just take in the cavern. This is the portal to your Metasoul. You may be seeing something different than a cavern, and that's fine. I'm sharing what I'm usually shown by gatekeepers is a cavern with many tunnels running off of this main room. Ask your gatekeeper to come forward. They may be sitting at a console, sometimes they are, or a guard's desk, or a panel, something like that. They may look like a wizard, like something from Lord of the Rings. They seem to be quite fond of Gandalf. So, the gatekeeper feels different than the inner protector. They have more of a mystical feeling about them, more metaphysical and not so connected to your timeline, this life. So that's a differentiation for you. You might see your inner protector right now, and that's okay too. As you connect with your gatekeeper, ask them to come into more form for you if they're showing up just as light or energy. That often brings them into form so you can see them. You can ask them if there's a name that you can call them. And then tell them that you would like to connect to one of your Metasoul timelines and Metasoul aspects that most needs you. Or just the one that your gatekeeper feels is the right one to connect with in this moment. I want to mention too that I'm feeling Michael, Archangel Michael, and kind of a Dark Mother Sophia combination. They are here, Michael providing a protection, a higher frequency protection, and Dark Mother Sophia, the courage and wisdom to move into shadow and trauma, especially on the karmic level, as it can be quite dense. Some of these timelines, of course, there's no healing happening in them. There's no consciousness around healing. So your Metasoul aspects may be quite congested, we could say. Maybe not even awakened. Most of them may be quite connected to 3D life still. So feel Michael's support and Sophia's support, and let in what your gatekeeper is telling you or offering you. We'll ask now your gatekeeper to lead us down one of the tunnels. And the tunnels often have doors. So there's tunnels and then there's doorways. And the doors represent these different timelines. A door is always a powerful symbol for a portal, of course. And the timeline that needs your attention usually has a glow around it. It's vibrating with color and energy. So as your gatekeeper is leading you down a tunnel with these doors, take in which one seems to be vibrating with color and energy. You should have a sense of that. If it's not clear yet or right now, that's okay. As you approach the glowing door, it may change form to represent the timeline. So it may look like an Egyptian gateway or an Atlantean door gateway or galactic. Or it may be a very simple, heavy wooden door. Just take in for a moment what the door looks like. So with your gatekeeper and the support of the divine, we're going to move through, open the door and move through. And we're going to ask the gatekeeper to place us, not in a moment of trauma, for this Metasoul aspect and this timeline, but in a moment before that, a moment of peace and goodness. That often seems to be connected to nature in some way. So as you move through this door, this is where it's really your individual experience, what you see now and feel and hear, perhaps. So you may see and find yourself in a meadow or the woods or by the ocean or in a home. Take in where you are. And when you are. Your gatekeeper, when requested, we usually do what you ask. So if you've asked to be placed not in the middle of a big traumatic scene, then you should find yourself in a pretty peaceful place. Connect now to a Metasoul aspect that needs you, or that is ready for connection. Just look around. You'll probably see him or her right away. Maybe they're sitting in the sun, they're resting or sleeping, they're thinking. They might be agitated or have feelings going on, so feel that. So this is, again, not you in a past life. It's a aspect, a Metasoul sister or brother. So as you approach them to connect with them, treat them as a stranger, yet familiar. So I usually introduce myself. And tell them which timeline I'm from, 2019, and what my intention is, which is to connect with them, to have a relationship with them, and to allow both of us to heal. Offer this to your Metasoul sister or brother. Take in their response. They may already be aware of you. The more Metasoul aspects you work with, the more aware the Metasoul becomes of this process. It's very interesting. But if this is your first, then they may not really understand who you are. It's like you've come out of thin air into their world. So you might take this time and even pause the video to connect with this Metasoul aspect and find out about them and their life. And you'll probably get some sense as you do that what their trauma or pain is about. And even what might possibly happen to them. Main energy to have here is curiosity, objectivity, compassion. As you're able to be that, then the traumatic energies aren't as overwhelming. So this is a setup to connect with a Metasoul aspect that you can use for any of them that you desire to connect with. This also includes higher dimensional aspects such as galactic, Pleiadian, Arcturian, Sirian. The doors that you walk through may look like spaceship doors or galactic doors. But it's the same process of bringing the Gatekeeper with you, having them help you bridge, helping you lift the veil. So we will move out of this timeline now, through the doorway, back into the tunnel, and we'll close the door. I found that this closing of the door is important as well to minimize the bleed through of the timeline. So again, you're choosing when you want to be in it and how you want to be in it. So closing the door, moving out of the cavern as you say goodbye to your gatekeeper, who hopefully will become quite a companion and collaborator with you ongoingly. Returning to your castle. Then you can open your eyes. That was a complex kind of visualization there and journey, and I'm condensing it down to a short time. So definitely pause, put on music. You know, it's really an unfolding process with these timelines, and having lots of curiosity about them is important to the digestion of them. And as I've already mentioned, this is also what we help you do in sessions, is bridge to these Metasoul aspects and open out the timeline, help you with seeing, hearing, and feeling what's going on in them. So thank you for joining me today. I hope this was illuminating, even if it was just a different way of seeing and feeling it than you have before. And I will see you tomorrow.